Hey Star Trek fans, welcome back to This Week in Trek. In this show, I bring you the week's news from the Star Trek universe, as well as any Trek releases coming up. This week, we have some news of Lower Decks Season 4 on Blu-ray, and some interesting comments from William Shatner about AI that I wanted to comment on. And as far as releases go, this week sees the release of some new books to add to your Star Trek library. But first, the news.
Is Freeman really the best captain, or simply a cruel taskmaster? I'm Victoria Newsay for FNN.
We just got news of the next Star Trek home media release. Star Trek Lower Decks Season 4 is set to hit Blu-ray on April 16th. The set will feature 2 discs containing all 10 episodes of Season 4. Special features in the set are as follows. We have audio commentary for the season premiere Tuvix by Jack Quaid, who plays Brad Boimler, Mike McMahon, the creator of Lower Decks, and Brad Winters, co-producer of Lower Decks. We also have audio commentary for Something Borrowed, Something Green by Tawny Newsome, Beckett Mariner, Noelle Wells, Devon Attendi, and Gabrielle Ruiz, who plays T'Lyn. The episode Parth Ferengi's Heart Place, one of my favorites, also has a commentary featuring Noelle Wells, Eugene Cordero, who plays Ensign Rutherford, Chase Masterson reprising her role as Lita, and Mike McMahon. Episode 9, The Inner Fight, features commentary by Don Lewis, who plays Captain Carol Freeman, Tawny Newsome, and Mike McMahon. And the season finale Old Friends, New Planets has a commentary track with Robert Duncan McNeil, reprising his role as Nick Locarno in this episode, and Mike McMahon. There are 2 other special features listed for this release, Lower Dectionary setting up Season 4, and a second one entitled Old Friends. If you'd like to pre-order Lower Decks Season 4 on Blu-ray ahead of its April 16th release, I have links in the video description. William Shatner, the original Captain James T. Kirk, recently gave an interview to comicbook.com ahead of his 93rd birthday next month. One of the questions asked was about his feelings regarding Star Trek possibly using an AI version of his performance as James T. Kirk. This is what he had to say. It's an interesting question. The strike was all about getting permission to do that. And so if I'm alive, I don't want AI to do that. But if I'm dead and they ask my family, and they're going to pay my family very well to sound like me, I would advise them to say yes. I am curious about what other Star Trek fans feel about this. I can completely understand the joy in seeing a classic character brought to life once again. I definitely remember the joy my wife in particular felt in seeing Luke Skywalker show up in The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. However, I also see amazing performances that come from new actors taking up the mantle of a classic character. Personally, I have been really enjoying Paul Wesley's interpretation of Jim Kirk, and if this technology were good enough at the time, it's possible we would never have gotten his performance, with William Shatner being used, along with AI, to resurrect the character. I definitely, like I said, see both sides of this issue, and I'm very curious to see what happens in the industry in the next few years. Will we be seeing new performances by new actors, or will we instead get an endless retread of classic characters who look and sound like their original performers, a sort of advanced puppetry using AI? Let me know in the comments your thoughts on this and what you would prefer to see in the future of Star Trek.
The answer is still no, Quark.
No? No to what?
I'm not going to allow you to sell merchandise over the station's monitors.
Why not? It's a brilliant idea.
This week sees the release of 2 new books, a Star Trek short story collection and a graphic novel collecting an IDW Deep Space Nine comic miniseries. First up is the book Star Trek Explorer Presents: The Mission and Other Stories. This hardcover release collects a series of short stories, 14 in all, originally published in various issues of the Star Trek Explorer magazine, published by Titan Comics. Here are the descriptions of all 14 stories in the collection from the publisher. First up is Control by John Peel, a tale starring Enterprise's Jonathan Archer and his loyal dog Porthos. Next, we have The Guardian by Gary Russell, a prelude to the classic TOS episode, What Are Little Girls Made Of? The Disavowed by Christopher Cooper. The crew of the Enterprise lose all memory of William Riker. In Pagabi by Chris Dowes, Guinan is invaded by a sinister force. Pulaski 2.0 by Greg Cox has Dr. Catherine Pulaski experiencing life as an android. The Expert by Gary Russell features a family being torn apart when the Borg strike. Scramble by Greg Cox, a return to the noir world of Dixon Hill. The Mission by James Swallow. Espionage runs rife aboard Deep Space Nine. Things Can Only Get Better by Una McCormick. Kira Nerys and Garrick discuss their opposing ideologies. In Frontier Medicine by Michael Carroll, Dr. Julian Bashir embarks on a career-defining adventure. By Special Request by John Peel, Miles O'Brien and Julian Bashir enjoy some rest and recreation with a difference. In The Victim by John Peel, Garrick moves in for the kill, but can he pull the trigger? Keith R.A. DeCandido's story You Can't Buy Fate features a first contact mission that doesn't go according to plan. And finally, the most enigmatic description in the lot here, Summer Days Can Last Forever by Michael Collins, in which the dull 1950s town of Patterson Creek is livened up by some unusual visitors. Star Trek Explorer Presents The Mission and Other Stories is officially released on Tuesday, February 13th, but copies have already been showing up in bookstores. Keep your eye out for that one, or you can order it via the links in the description below. Also coming out on Tuesday the 13th is the next comic omnibus collection from IDW, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, The Dog of War, collecting the entire miniseries that came out last year. Here's the synopsis. Don't miss out on this exclusive lost episode celebrating the 30th anniversary of the fan-favorite show Star Trek Deep Space Nine. An extremely rare purebred corgi from Earth makes its way aboard Deep Space Nine when Quark cuts a deal to procure it for a high buyer. After all, a Ferengi without profit is no Ferengi at all. But Latinum the Corgi comes with unexpected cargo that shakes Captain Benjamin Sisko to the core, a Borg component discovered by a crew sent to uncover Cardassian technology after the station's reoccupation. I will also have links to purchase The Dog of War in the video description, and we will be talking about both of these book releases on future episodes of my podcast, The Positively Trek Book Club. And finally, another new Star Trek coin was recently released by the New Zealand Mint, a tribute to Star Trek the original series. The Space, the Final Frontier 1-ounce silver coin features a striking image of the original USS Enterprise. The coin itself is 1 troy ounce of 3/9 fine silver with a face value of 2 New Zealand dollars. Limited to only 3,000, the coin comes in the box you see here, with the coin's specific mintage shown on a certificate of authenticity on the back. There is a link in the description to the New Zealand Mint website where you can check it out for yourself. And that's a wrap on another week in Trek. Thank you to the Patreon supporters for your help, and as always, thank you so much to everyone else for watching. I really appreciate all of you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, as always, live long and prosper.